There's some news that Yunus Musah
Hmm?
has made mention that he's ready to leave Valencia. Now, Valencia just had a big win this weekend against Elche, which keeps them on 30 points. They're still in the relegation zone. They got 8 games left in Spain, but they're tied with Almeria. They have 30 points as well.
He
And
started
then
in that game.
they have Real Valladolid is like on 32 or 33, and Cadiz is also on 31 or 32 points. And Valencia plays those two teams in the next 2 weeks. After that, Valencia's schedule gets a lot harder. They've got Real Madrid, they got Villarreal, and it's going to get a little bit more difficult for them to get the points. But those two upcoming games, are going to be of super importance. Yunus got the start this weekend, and it was a big, big win, which puts them back into it. But there's so much interest around Yunus Musah, and I know Charlie talked about it today on Morning Footy as well, about where he should go. But I wanted to get your thoughts on the best fit for him. We're seeing Inter Milan, we're seeing Liverpool, we're seeing Arsenal. He spent 7 years there as an academy player. You know, where would you like to see Yunus Musah go?
Man, those are big clubs. But he's honestly one of the few players I think in our national team pool that I'm not worried about putting him into those types of environments, right? If you watch him, even when he's not great for our national team over 90 minutes, you still look at him when he has the ball and you go, okay, that player is different, right? His level is something a little bit different. I would love to see him go to Arsenal. I think we're getting close to that period where you guys still have me here? My thing everything's going wrong with me today. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you sound great.
Yeah,
you're looking great.
Keep wild. It's tough again to say what that right club is because it's about contractual situations and needs, right? If you're coming in to have to challenge because you're depth in a squad, if Arsenal end up and when they end up winning the Premier League title, I don't know if that's the right situation for him there. But a lot of that's about, outgoing and incoming for him. I think he could go to a big club, but I don't think he should be going into one that has 5 or 6 midfielders he's going to have to fight his way through. I like his odds more than most players in our national team pool to go into a big club and prove themselves at this age with his experience and win out or get consistent matches. But I do think he needs to get out of that club and maybe go to somewhere that has a little more visibility and a little bit higher. I mean, he's in pressure now because they're fighting relegation and it's a massive club, Valencia, but I'd love to see him. Yeah, Premier League could work well for him because I think he's got all of the tools that we've discussed a number of times to be successful there.
Now, Chuck, you said on Morning Footy this morning, I was tuning in before I hopped on to basically take an L for my wagers this past weekend. We don't have to get into that side of it. You had mentioned that playing in Italy might be a better fit for him because, and I like this thought, just because in Spain, there's more of an emphasis on keeping the ball. And I think we see that in Italy as well. Whereas in the Premier League, now this isn't for every team, but I would say generally it's just 100 miles an hour all the time. And maybe there isn't that time to put your foot on the ball and play. And we think that's when Yunus Musah is at his best, when he's got a little bit more of that possession-based coaching or team around him. What you still agreeing with that now that the cameras aren't rolling for Morning Footy?
Oh, absolutely. Inter and Milan are two clubs that I think he'd be a good fit in. Milan, with Sandro Tonali playing as more of a defensive midfielder, but Ismail Benacer, I would stack up Yunus Musah with Ismail Benacer, and Rade Krunic is a solid Croatian midfielder, two-way, I'd say more defensive than attacking, but that's a place where I think Yunus Musah could thrive in that system and playing with that team. Oh, give me Yunus Musah all day. Same with Inter. Roma, I could see him fitting in there as well. Juve, that midfield could use a player like Yunus Musah. So I don't know if you'd want to play with.
They have one called Weston McKennie. They just got to bring him back.
Allegri doesn't necessarily play the best style, but Milan, Inter, I could see Yunus Musah fitting in perfectly there. And Serie A, they take care of the ball more. It's not so much the frantic tempo that we get in the English Premier League, which is good for some players, and we've seen other players struggle with that same system, and especially if you're on a team that doesn't get the ball and doesn't have options. Yeah. A la Weston McKennie at Leeds United, not necessarily the best fit for him.
Or even Josh Sargent at Norwich the season before, right? Where he's going there, but his team has the ball like 17% of the time. It sucks.
And same for Josh Sargent when he went to the Bundesliga. When you play with a team that is on the back foot all the damn time and you're fighting relegation, for some players, it's great. And for other players, it really sets you back, and you don't get the opportunity to grow and show what you're capable of. So I think Yunus Musah, he'll be fine. And he always has Gattuso to be his reference in Italy, which is also a coach that was super high on Yunus Musah, and obviously has the connections to a Milan or just to any Serie A team in particular. So I think Yunus Musah will be fine. He's probably our most technically gifted player because of his education in England, particularly Arsenal. So I'm a big fan of his, and I think he'll do better once he leaves Valencia and puts himself in a better club situation.
Now, Chuck, I was going to come back to you as our resident number 9, but I'm actually going to go to Ricardo Pepi's number 1 fan, because this is about Ricardo Pepi.
Yes.
And apparently, Heath, as his number 1 fan, now Pepi scored 11 goals in 24 games in the Eredivisie this season for Groningen, who are going down, which actually kind of speaks to his quality, because they're not scoring a lot of goals, but he's still making it happen. That he might be headed to Crystal Palace. And apparently, his parent club, Augsburg, is willing to let him go for 16 million euros. What do you
Jimmy,
think about
who
Ricardo Pepi to
owns
Crystal Palace?
Augsburg and owns Crystal Palace? David Blitzer. Okay, the same
There
guy.
you go.
Owns both the clubs. And actually, with what they've been trying to do, Blitzer Harris is trying to create that vertical integration between clubs. They haven't been able to do that. Crystal Palace has sort of just lived off on its own island in their club investments. I don't like that move for Ricardo Pepi. I know that there's a will to keep him in house, and part of that investment see its way. If it goes from that number to that number, it's pretty much living within the same sort of ecosystem in terms of ownership groups. But again, I don't love it. I don't want to see him go to the Premier League. I think it's another leap too far, where the chances will be too few and far between. And also, just like he's not there yet as a player, right? If he was that good, he would have done something at Augsburg. Like, he is good and he is developing, but he needs to be in a place where he can continue to develop. Give me 2 more full seasons in the Eredivisie. PSV likely win it, or Astad Alkmaar at the top of the table. Ajax probably won't win, so there's an opportunity to be in a side that's competing for a championship if he were to go to a bigger club in the Eredivisie. And then in 1 year, if he hits that 20 goal mark, then go wherever you want. But I don't love the idea of the Premier League anywhere across the board for him, because either it's too big or it's too chaotic, and all of that right now, I think it's just a step. It's a step too much. And yeah, I get it from a business standpoint. I don't get it from a development standpoint.
We're hearing
and he'll go too.
Well, yeah, why wouldn't you? I mean, the allure of the Premier League. But I just wanted to say you're speaking like a dad there. That was a Heath Pierce speaking as Ricardo Pepi's dad.
Number 1 fan.
Number 1 fan and his dad. Chuck, as our resident number 9, care to chime in on this Ricardo Pepi situation?
I mean, similar to what Heath said, he's desperate to leave Augsburg. He doesn't want to go back. I think that's a fact. Just when you feel treated poorly and not given a chance, and then you see kind of the quality and where they are in the Bundesliga, you don't want to go back. You're so used to being the main man and playing all the minutes. So you want your next move to be at a higher level where you're going to get the same opportunity to play. If Crystal Palace are the only club willing to pay 16 million,
pay themselves, apparently.
Yes, then he's going to go, because I don't see another club coming in for a fee that's close to that, given how much Augsburg paid.
Unless they
MLS
buy and loan him.
Get him.